Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is David Solomon. David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you. So, David, let us know where you live and what you do.
Well, what I do is I help manufacturers export for the first time successfully. So really I'm the sales guy. I'm a guy who's going to look at the crystal ball, Qasim, and say, here's where you need to go. Here's how you're going to go. And I'm going to help you succeed when you get into that new market. So really, if you're a manufacturer and you've never exported or you've tried to export and bombed, I'm there to help you.
Awesome. That's great. So, obviously, as a founder, there's a possibility that you are handling many things and you are wearing many hats. So, in this case, can you guide me like what hats you are wearing at this point? Obviously, one of them is sales, but is there anything else as well?
So I come in as the sales guy. I come in as like I'd say a fractional chief revenue officer. Beautiful title. But in reality, what I do is I'm also a strategic partner for the CEO. I'm a help to the sales manager. I'm a voice box, if you will, for other departments. I help also do a lot of alignment because while I am sales, I also understand operations, human resources, cash flow, or you name it. So I will be the strategic partner for the other departments with a sales, background with all that. I take all that with me with that understanding of we want to succeed. So I'm not your typical sales guy, Qasim. That's what I tell everybody.
Got it. So I think this is the best opportunity for me to understand what biggest challenges people are facing in this industry, like especially when we talk about the revenue side and the sales side, because I have seen many entrepreneurs where they are more concerned about the revenue, and on the other hand, I have also seen some entrepreneurs who are more concerned about the profitability. Both of the things are directly related to the sales, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the entrepreneurs told me that revenue is not a big thing. Revenue is a complete separate thing. For an entrepreneur in the sales, for an entrepreneur, the profitability should be the biggest thing, and they should care. This is something that they should care about. So, can you please guide us if you have ever seen any biggest challenge that someone has faced or you have ever faced, and how you are able to address it?
So it's a funny question what you just asked, and the statement that a friend of mine used the other day that I thought was brilliant. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. And it really, I can bring you $100 million of business, but if it costs you 101 million, what the heck did I just do? And so the reality is that's why I'm a little bit different is most business owners are waiting for the salespeople to just talk about sales. Don't care how much it costs. Don't care about other things. I make a sale. Don't care about the company. I've always been at that strategy table where I need to know that we're doing is the most profitable and the best for the company. So let's start so let me address that whole point exactly. The problem which companies have is, there are a few things, Qasim. One is what I have is it exportable? And so when first question I ask these companies is, do you have a uniqueness? Do you have a problem that you've solved for your clients in your home market? And is it clear? Because you can't take that to another market. Because if all you do, Qasim, is fight the price battle, you're a commodity, you will lose. I promise you will lose because somebody bigger than you is going to undercut you and kill you. If you have something that's unique and has value in a new market, now we could start talking. Now you could start talking about profitability. So then when you finally decide, okay, and you've sat with your customers, you've sat with your leadership team, you've decided, okay, this is the problem we solve. This is what makes us unique. And now we determine together who's our ideal customer. Sales, operations, finance, everybody's got to get around that table and say, who's the right customer for us? Because somebody who buys the most isn't necessarily the best customer. We're back to profit. Is that, I might sell to Walmart and I make a lot of revenue, but I'm not making a heck of a lot of profit because of what they want from me. So I've got to be really careful. Who is my ideal customer? And that's the challenge, is because when they go into that first new market, they don't take the time to look at through those three things that I've just listed out. And so when they go into a new market, Qasim, they fail because they didn't address the need that they could have brought. They went into the wrong market. They went in with the wrong approach. They spoke to the wrong people. So fundamentally, if you want the most profitable way to enter a market, start with these three questions. What pain point do you solve? What makes you unique? And who do you do it for?
That's awesome. In fact, I was going to ask you, like, what would be the biggest points, and you just mentioned all these points. Awesome. That's great. All right. So again, this is a crowded market. Like right now, everywhere there's a crowded market, and this is pretty difficult for the entrepreneurs to come up with a new idea because again, this market is overcrowded. This is the problem with maybe the early stage entrepreneurs. But on the other hand, if we talk about the stable ones, let's talk about the SaaS companies. So if they are stable and they are doing really well, now there's a new idea introduced, like RaaS instead of SaaS, like software as a service, or software or product as a service, and on the other hand, RaaS, like resilience as a service. How this resilience as a service will increase their profitability? Because again, we are talking about increasing the profitability instead of the revenue. So when we are in the resilience as a service, in this case, because we are going to maybe maintain more resources, maybe we are going to more stock in our hands. So how this will help us to increase our profitability? Because obviously we are going to invest more.
That's a fantastic question, and people are not
Thank you.
asking that enough. Because when you go into a new market, the first thing you think of is, yay, more sales. Okay, but that's not the only reason you go into a new market. Let's talk about diversification, customer diversification. If I have my top 20, the old Pareto rule, 80% of my business is coming from 20% of my clients. Okay, if I'm in one market and someone in my top 20 disappears, I could be devastated. I could be destroyed. But if I'm in two markets, three markets, and somebody in the top 20 goes, well, I can go into another market and find a replacement for that person. Okay, so I've got really reduced my diversification. The other part, which people don't realize, is that when I go into a new market, I have the chance of increasing my prices. I have a chance of offering it at a higher price. Now my profitability is a lot better. So again, that's top line. We've talked about top line. Now let's go to bottom line, economies of scale. When I'm going into multiple markets, I could take advantage of the new market I'm in. There might be cheaper labor. There might be better warehousing. There might be better supplier sources that I can get my hands on. So you're talking about resilience, but when you talk about multiple market, that adds to your resilience. You now can tap into so many different markets for different things. The last thing that people don't even realize, actually, there's two things I should say. One, let's talk about human capital, talent, resources. I can now, if I'm now in other markets, I can find other talent, better talent, different talent that can add to my asset, my asset scenario. I can grow my ability to be better at what I do. The last thing is innovation. If I'm in a new market, 2, 3 markets, I can bring innovation from one market to another seamlessly because it's been tested, it's been done, whatever. So Qasim, when you talk about resilience, new market growth enhances your resilience. It makes you more, a lot more, attractive, stronger, powerful. Now, to a founder, this should be, gold. This is awesome because let's say the founder wants to sell the company down the road. Well, you have built a resilient organization, and because you're in multiple markets, the X factor increases. You created a more stable organization, a more powerful organization by that. And now if somebody wants to buy you out, they're going to pay you more. It's all good in that sense, right?
That makes sense. But here, there will be some new challenges as well. When we are going to acquire more talent from the market, from the different markets, in this case, but like maybe I'm not aware about these things. So please pardon me on my dumb question. So when we are expanding in other markets, and if we talk about a talent and we are going to acquire some new talent from somewhere else, like maybe from 3, 4, 5 countries, now there comes the concept of remote work, the remote services, which is again another challenge, like to manage those things. So don't you think even in this case, there will be more investment involved to manage the overseas talent or sort of resources? Because obviously, let's say if I'm in Austin and I'm going to hire someone from Vietnam, from Italy, then obviously to manage those teams, I might have to put more efforts, I might have to put more resources, more investment to manage these resources. So how I can get maximum out of my talent that is overseas.
So, Kasim, I'm not talking about remote work like that. That is,
Yeah.
virtual assistants, that's outsourcing. That's not what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I'm talking about in-house talent. So if you're in Austin, you're in Texas, you're in the United States, right? And I want to go into Mexico. I want to go into Canada. Well, I might need a warehouse there because to service that market. Now I need,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm investing in resources. I'm investing I have a capital expenditure. I have all these other things without a doubt. And now I have to bring in talent and whatever. That's what I'm referring to. I'm going to bring in talent that could be so valuable to the organization because they're in a different market, different mindset, whatever the reason it is. It's not the remote work. That's not what I'm referring to. Although they may work
Got it.
remotely in some of these markets, that's up to the organization. But when I'm really serious about I want to go into a new market, like I said, from the United States to Mexico,
Yeah.
and I have a warehouse in I don't know, Mexico City. Let's pretend. I don't know whatever it is, right? So, pardon me. So then, if we're going to go to Mexico City, then all these people that I'm going to hire, that I'm going to need to run that warehouse, to build out the infrastructure, to whatever, some of that talent could be so incredible that it'll give
Yeah.
me a competitive advantage over my competitors. That's what I'm referring to. And it's a worthwhile investment.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Obviously, in this case, there's a possibility that I might have multiple warehouses. There's a possibility that I might have multiple offices in different areas. But obviously, there will be a trade-off cost. But still, the trade-off cost is better. Like in terms of long term, I think where I have ready stock to be delivered somewhere immediately. That makes sense. Completely makes sense. Awesome. So, in terms of differentiators, because everybody do have differentiators, and because in fact everybody do have competitors. There are competitors in the market, right? So in your case, what are your differentiators? Because obviously you are also in a crowded market and you might have some competitors. So what are your differentiators in this case?
You asked me a really good question, Kasim. I love this conversation. I'm actually in a very unique spot because the traditional fractional sales executive
Yeah.
are people who are helping the today. They'll come into your organization, they'll write your
Mhm.
playbook, they'll help you discover who your ideal customer is, they'll write for you scripts, they'll put in CRM into your place, they'll help your sales team sell, coaching, growing. Wonderful people, by the way. All wonderful people, and I endorse them greatly. Where they will admit, though, is when it comes to strategy, they're dependent on the company to give them the strategy. So they're not looking necessarily at the crystal ball of a new market. They're not necessarily looking where to grow that. They're going to look at the here and the now, the next 12 months. Where I'm different is I do look past the next 12 months. I'm looking at the new market. Where I am different is business owners call me because they don't have time and they don't have the resources to look into a new market. They know that they need to do it. They don't have the time or the people to do it. So I do it. There are very few like me out there in the market. Now, in my background, I used to be in the toy business and I opened up over 40 different markets during my career. And so I'm quite familiar with new market nuances, new market challenges, culture, language, value systems, you name it. Kasim, I'll give you one more thing. I also teach this to MBA students and Masters of Retail Management students at McGill University. As a lecturer there, I built an entire course on what I do. I started it 10 years ago. And so my students I have a lot of international students. They come from Southeast Asia. They come from China, Latin America, South America, Africa, Europe, and they all want to work in North America. And there are massive cultural differences. There are different ways of doing business. And so through my course, not only do I teach them how to think of revenue growth in new markets, but also from their perspective, how to deal with people in those new markets. So where I'm different is, there's an old expression, those that can do, those that can't teach. I disagree. I do both. So if you want, that's where I'm different. Kasim, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Okay.
That's a great differentiator. Nice. All right. So, David, and please let us know. Give us, please, the biggest piece of advice for other entrepreneurs.
Sorry?
For other
Sorry.
entrepreneurs, other
For
business
other
owners.
entrepreneurs, you know what? I'll
Yeah.
tell you something. As an entrepreneur today, you're writing up a business plan, right? You're writing your business plan and you're looking, saying, today I'm going to launch my business and this is my 3 years and this is where I'm going to be and da 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 da. Remember how you started. That planning never ends. And if you just plan once, you will eventually find yourself caught in the day to day and you will hit a ceiling of growth and you won't be able to expand. Planning every year, planning every quarter if you can, but planning once a year. And I don't mean budgeting. We do that. budget is a number. That's your controller, CFO can do. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be in 5 to 10 years from now? Where do you want to be? Do you want 1,000 customers? Do you want 15 markets? Do you want $50 million? I don't care. You need to keep planning. Never lose that what got you there. Never lose it. Find the time with you and your leadership team, and you'll scale to greater heights.
That's awesome. Thanks for the beautiful advice.
Pleasure.
Like this is one of the biggest advices that I have ever. So awesome. Well, David, thank you so much. Please let our viewers know how they can reach you if someone wants to.
Perfect. So I'm reachable at www.serogrowth.com. That's SERO growth.com. You can email me at info@serogrowth.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, David Solomon. You would find me as, I think it's David Solomon 13. That's my LinkedIn. And I also have a Zero Growth page on LinkedIn. Any way you can reach me, I'm very easily findable.
Thank you so much. A huge thank you to your insights were incredibly valuable, and it gave me a whole new perspective today. So
Glad I could do that.
have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.